From the dawn of history to modern times, man has moved big things, from huge 9-ton stones used to build the pyramids of Egypt to a lighthouse about to be washed out to sea on the outer banks of North Carolina. Sure, the technology has evolved from manpower to horsepower to mechanized cranes, trucks, and trailers. But the goals remain the same: to move an object from point A to point B. And that's the work of the Specialized Carriers and Rigging Association members, a group that literally moves the world. They're known as heavy haulers, machinery movers, crane operators, riggers, millwrights. No job's too big or too heavy for these folks. If it's oversized, overweight, and needs to be moved across the world or to an exact spot within a fraction of an inch.
Let me get it down within about a quarter of an inch.
These precision engineers design a way to do it.
Right on down, hold that.
It starts with us. If it's big, small, heavy, wide, whatever it is, you know, somehow or another it's got to get there. If it was easy, they wouldn't call on us.
Great job.
In this line of work, there are many successes and occasional setbacks.
Watch your gauge. We got an oil leak. Shut down. Shut everything down.
But one thing's certain: each day is a brand new challenge and a chance to measure your achievements. In August of 2000, during naval maneuvers in the Arctic Sea, 2 unexplained explosions ripped apart the Kursk's nose, sinking the Russian sub, killing all aboard. There were doubts that it was at all possible to raise the Kursk. The wreckage was buried 356 feet deep, weighing 18,000 tons with 2 nuclear reactors and 20 missiles inside. Not to mention, the Arctic Sea is one of the world's most troubled waters. After 88 days of planning, it took 15 hours to lift the submarine, using giant 22-ton steel cables drilled into its hull. This technologically unprecedented operation was a huge success. After losing a 128-year standoff with the sea, the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse in North Carolina was relocated inch by inch to safer ground.
Go ahead, give me 3.
Something's moving.
Using 5 push jacks activated by unified hydraulics, the world's tallest brick lighthouse was slowly moved away from the eroding sands. The new site preparation took 2 years. The move itself, at speeds of only 2 inches a minute, took an additional 23 days.
3 inches, 2 inches, 1 inch. Hey, that's it, baby. Whoa, right there.
Rescuing, preserving, relocating. These are the headline projects the public hears about. But what goes on day to day literally powers our economy. When a transformer blew out in Maysville, Kentucky, another one weighing 400 tons was quickly moved online with minimal disruption.
We had to use a set of 500-ton gantry systems to pick the transformer up, and then we used our 500-ton lowboy and backed under it, and then we offloaded and changed the transformers out.
We're hauling large mining equipment to the coal fields or to the oil reserves. We are hauling equipment to new job sites for factories, hospitals, schools.
Obviously, nothing can be built if you don't you normally use some type of a lifting device to put it into place. I mean, we've been using cranes or some form of cranes for a long time.
In the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, cranes are erecting a new bridge between Virginia and Maryland on Interstate 95. Cranes place scoreboards on stadiums and build buildings.
We have the impossible challenges every day. There's not that many companies in the world that do what we do, so we perform minor miracles every day.
And these minor miracles are never more evident than when disaster strikes.
The public is somewhat naive as to how difficult it is for us to move this type of equipment in, both safely and get it into place so that we can do the work in an emergency situation like the World Trade Centers. I mean, you can imagine to move this type of material out of the way to try to save lives, you know, the cranes become a critical part. It's just like the firemen and the policemen. They're heroes now, but before they were pretty invisible.
Invisible heroes. It may best describe the people of the specialized carriers and rigging industry. And while they don't fly around wearing a cape, they confront obstructions in addition to the task at hand: over-regulation.
We were fairly involved in delivering machines to the World Trade Center after September 11th, and it got to the point where we were trying to get a large machine down to the World Trade Center. It was coming out of upstate New York and obviously going to New York City. New York would not issue us a permit until New York City issued us a permit. New York City wouldn't issue us a permit until New York issued a permit, you know. And I mean, talk about, you know, irony. I mean, it affected both of them. You know, we're there trying to do our job, and it took an extra day and a half just to get the two government bureaus to talk to each other to issue the permits that we needed to get the machine down to the World Trade Center.
And the problems only get worse when crossing state lines.
So one of the major problems we have is that the permitting is different in just about every state. So you have 50 different organizations or state organizations, plus you have to you have to include the federal in that. And so you have to really know all the different weight laws to move this heavy equipment, either by truck or under its own power, for instance, in a crane. To give you a perfect example, in our area, the state of Maryland has a certain weight law that allows you to move a crane at about 134,000 pounds. But when you get to the state line in Virginia, you have to put that crane in a dolly, which means you have to add axles, and this particular dolly is placed underneath the boom. Well, taking that in consideration, where do you do that? If you put the dolly on the crane in the state of Maryland, you're overweight. So that means in some respects, I don't know if it happens in other areas, but we've discussed it with both state regulations, you know, DOTs, and you know, we have a situation where we have a problem. It makes it unsafe to change the dolly along the side of the interstate highway on a 200-ton crane. So, but that's the only way you can actually meet both state requirements.
US 20 over to Ash, and then south on Ash.
Jim White of White Brothers Trucking Company has 72 days invested in hauling this oversized chemical mixing tank from Elkhart, Indiana to Beloit, Wisconsin. It's finally moving day. State troopers will escort the tank to the state line, where the next jurisdiction takes over. All in all, the tank will travel 192 miles on 82 roads across 3 states, requiring 15 permits.
This move is very, very high. It's 192 miles from here to Beloit. We're going to travel just close to 500 miles to get there. At 18 foot high, we're going to have state police escort. We're going to have bucket trucks to lift a lot of wires. We've done a lot of route survey, and we're getting ready to rock and roll here today.
Why did it take 72 days to get to this point?
With a load this size, we get city permits for the cities that we're going to travel through. We need county permits for the county roads that we're going to be on. We need township permits for the township roads that we'll be on. And of course, we need state permits for the state routings that we are. So we have to apply to each of the states, cities, counties, and townships that will be traveling on their roads. It's entirely different, and they have different rules. So if we could just get uniform, it would help us tremendously.
A uniform set of regulations for transporting oversized loads would cut down on the paperwork and permitting that now adds months to many jobs. It would also make transporting a wide load go faster.
But I think a lot of people just get so upset with being stuck behind a big load. You know, I'm just sitting here waiting for this thing. They've closed the George Washington Bridge because they're moving this turbine. It's just, that is, we get a bad rap at. But what we do is actually quite interesting.
We have a great opportunity today in lifting the Liberty Bell.
Preserving and relocating national historic treasures like the Liberty Bell tops the list of interesting lifts for George Young.
We've been working now for 3 hours. Got a little tension on it and we're ready to go.
Watching his father lift the bell to its current location in the 1960s was a main reason he elected to continue a proud family tradition.
We've lifted the Liberty Bell with a 20-ton hydraulic gantry, and they've been doing some scientific experiments to see how much the crack is opening when we handle it. Fortunately, it doesn't open much at all. Many days we spend in the bottom of a pit moving greasy machinery, and it's hot or it's cold, and it's not the most glamorous thing. But then you have an opportunity to show off doing something like this, and we have a great crew of craftsmen who have the capability of handling great works of fine art. They're very delicate. It was once phrased to me as iron hands and velvet gloves. And this, of course, has really got to be the ultimate sculpture in the United States.
From lifting the Liberty Bell to lifting the economy, our industry builds the infrastructure of our country.
We impact a lot of states, a lot of cities, just about every structure that you go into, and with that, a lot of employment for our country.
Construction starts everything in this country, and with our specialty being the hauling of construction equipment, we have to get it there before anything else gets started.
Case in point, when Phillips Petroleum needed a new FCC converter to refine more oil, it contacted Emirate International to do the move. This was no ordinary piece of cargo. The main FCC converter weighed more than 1.5 million pounds and measured 175 feet long. It was being shipped from Japan, and the trick was unloading it without disturbing the surrounding ecosystem. No pilings could be used to secure the off-ramp. When the barge ramp was built, every piece of driftwood was labeled, moved, and then replaced. To offload the converter, the barge was beached at high tide. As it made its way toward the refinery, a 90-degree turn required road improvements to accommodate the turning radius of the converter. Transporting this converter to increase oil production is one example of how vital specialized carriers and riggers are to the economy.
We're bouncing a light, but that's all right. Ain't nothing else you can do. Just bounce it easy.
We can start to lift.
1,000 pounds coming up.
Whether it's in the Arctic Sea, at Pebble Beach, or the University of Kentucky football stadium, specialized carriers and riggers are quietly going about the business of moving the world and creating jobs.
Currently we have, and maybe in most industries, we have a labor shortage. Most young men, as they come through school, high school, and they get ready to go out into the job market, they're not really at this point in time in their life considering a job in our industry.
You know, there's opportunities galore, and it's exciting.
We're big kids with big toys.
For its part, the Specialized Carriers and Rigging Foundation awards scholarships to students preparing for careers in transportation or construction management. It also arranges summer internships. As we begin the 21st century, the Specialized Carriers and Rigging Association members continue to find new ways to lift and move heavier and heavier pieces of equipment. Dedication, technology, and innovation drive the industry.
Who invented the inclined plane? And of course, that's how we lifted. years ago when the pyramids were built. We used hundreds of men and an inclined plane to move the rocks up the hill. Well, there's the change. Now we're using hydraulic gantries.
When a 12,000-ton power plant had to be installed during an Alaska winter, a remote-controlled trailer did the job.
They moved a 12,000-ton power plant in Alaska over an ice road, 60 kilometers at 80 degrees below Celsius, and it was all done by remote control.
So, while much has changed, much has remained the same. We still need things moved from point A to point B.
The backbone of our nation is in transportation, okay? Whether it's air commerce, and we have members who have jumbo heavy lift airplanes, to over-the-road heavy hauling, or just general heavy hauling. It's the backbone of the economy of this country, and if you don't realize that, you know, next time you're out on the road, just take a look around, and when you get behind a heavy load, you know, don't swear at it, because it's probably warming your house tomorrow, you know. Yeah, that's our contribution. You know, we build the things that need to be built.
The Specialized Carriers and Rigging Association, moving the world. No other industry carries as much weight. This project was made possible through funding from the SC&RA Foundation. Specialized Carriers and Rigging Association has helped its 1,100 members in 43 countries attain the highest standards of quality and safety. Its members are involved in a variety of activities that include specialized transportation, machinery moving and erecting, industrial maintenance, manufacturing, millwrighting, and crane and rigging operations.